Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? What's up, folks? Today is Wednesday, September 4th, 2025. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. Yes, it is the 7th anniversary of Roland Martin Unfiltered, the 4th anniversary of Black Star Network. And so we're going to have several people who actually were on our first show 7 years ago, including Bishop William Barber, Linda Sarsour, and others. We got our all-star panel in studio. Lots to break down. Folks, it's time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on
Coming up next on the inaugural edition of Roland Martin Unfiltered, drama on Capitol Hill as Senate Democrats and Republicans clash on the first day of Trump's Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh. Kristen Clark of the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law, who was in the hearing room, will join us live. A black woman who was mistakenly voted in Texas is headed to prison. Yes, prison. She and her attorney are going to join us live as well. He has picked up the mantle of Dr. King's Poor People's Campaign. The Reverend Dr. William Barber will join us live to discuss that and why it's time to end voter apathy, especially among black folks headed into the midterm election. We'll also recap the homegoing celebration of Aretha Franklin and discuss why her family is blasting the eulogy delivered by Atlanta pastor Jasper Williams Jr. Plus, Colin Kaepernick and Nike, they've got conservatives in an uproar over making him the face of Nike's 30th anniversary of their Just Do It campaign. And, of course, Black Twitter will be on fire tonight for the first night of BET's miniseries on Bobby Brown. Folks, it's time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Let's go. Folks, a whole lot has changed since that first show, literally across the street. That's where we were. Totally different show, new look, new studio, all that good stuff. It was a whole bunch of stuff we could not afford 7 years ago, so everything looks a lot different now. So it's been an amazing 7 years. More than 40,000 people have joined our Bring the Funk fan club, providing donations, making it possible for us to do this show. The show was launched with one sponsor, the American Federation of State and County Municipal Employees, as a sponsor. Of course, $350 grand of my own money, and we launched this thing, and a lot of people said it was not going to work. I remember the YouTube people, when they were funding a lot of efforts, they literally said, hey, we don't think black news is going to work. And I was like, all right, we're going to show y'all. So here we are 7 years later with 1.85 million followers in the YouTube Top 100 podcast every week, but 2 weeks since they launched that. And so I think it actually has worked. And even now, 7 years later, we still are the only daily news show that centers African Americans in the country. One of the first guests that we had that first episode was Bishop William Barber, of course, co-convener Repairs of the Breach Poor People's Campaign. He joins us right now. Bishop, always glad to have you back. Again, a lot of people said it wasn't going to work, but again, we remain focused and faithful, and here we are.
Well, you know that song, they said I wouldn't make it, but you're still here today, brother. And not only just here, but here making a difference. And I want to say right off the bat, there's 1,000 preachers out there I know, particularly that benefit from what you do. I'm going to give $1,000 today, commit to that, and 1,000 do that, that's $1 million. We have got to understand how important what Roland has done, not for himself. He could have done something else, but he does this for the cause, for the people. I went back today, Roland, I did two things. First of all, I said, I'm going to put on a suit for the anniversary, you know. I'm going to get a little fly. I want to let you know you ain't the only one who can get fly, bro. And then I said, I wanted to go back to W.B. Du Bois. W. Du Bois said, look, you got to have black media number one, to empower the black community. Because if not, you get beat down so much you don't even believe you can do things. Number two, to counter anti-blackness. To counter anti-blackness, you do this every day. And then number three, to humanize the people, to humanize the struggle. There are people, Roland, that you've had on this show, nobody else would have had them on. They would not have had anywhere else that they could. I remember when you brought the people on from Cancer Alley. Now that, you know, they're on other places. In fact, one of the ladies who's one of the founders of St. James, the fight down there, she's in Rome today. Potentially meeting with the Pope, but she came on this show first. And then the last thing is to ensure a diverse perspective. It was black media, y'all, that first told us that COVID was airborne. That was the first people, it was black media. Mm-hmm. It was Roland and others telling us, wait a minute, there's something else going on here. While some people were saying, well, black people are just more susceptible to this particular, what would later be a pandemic, you were telling us that it's airborne. You were warning us. And I want to believe that there are people who are alive today who would not be, and there are people who died and their lives would have never been honored. I remember one day, Roland, you let me come on and talk about a sister who lost 25 members of her family in a 30-day time period in Mississippi because the Mississippi governor would not expand health care. I mean, nobody would have told that sister's story. And so, Doc, look, man, I'm so glad. I was thinking about 7 plus 4 is 11. 11 is a prime number. A prime number is a number you can't do nothing with but take it. You can't divide it. You can't divide it. You can't, but it's just a prime number.
Yep.
11. The only way you get to it is 11 times 1. So, Doc, thank you for being a prime number.
And
prime brother.
What also jumps out, and I talked about this, Dr. King's book, Where Do We Go From Here, Chaos or Community, and he said that there were 4 institutions primed to liberate Black America, and one of the 4, he said the Negro Press. And this is what he said. He said, too many Negro newspapers have veered away from their traditional role as protest organs agitating for social change and have turned to the sensational and the conservative in place of the substantive and the militant. And, I've had some people stop me and they said, I had brothers who worked in the White House or other places said, hey, man, I really think you need to add entertainment, you need to add sports to get more eyeballs. And I said, let me tell you what happens. If you go down that pathway, then that's what you're going to focus on, and news is going to get left behind. And I said, I got nothing against entertainment, nothing against sports. But if you look at the YouTube Top 100 podcasts, nearly every African-American other than this show is sports and entertainment. And I said, we got too much of that already. We got to have a place where that's all we focus on is news and information.
That's right. And use the sports figures to do that. See, the difference is you'll bring somebody like Spike Lee on or somebody to talk about the issues. And that's genius, brother, because we also have to make people respect our artists and our sports figures as something other than people that can just run with a ball or dunk a ball or they're acting, that they actually have a perspective and a platform. The other piece of that, Roland, you're so right. People will tell us what we ought to do, but guess what? Sometimes those same folk, let them get in trouble, who they run to.
Mm-hmm. Oh, trust me. I get those text messages and phone calls, and to that point, there's a reason why in our living room set, I got Mr. B, Harry Belafonte, who I had great respect for. He's one of the pieces. I've got James Baldwin, but also Ida B. Wells Barnett flanking him. And so it's not that I don't believe that artists are important, but they serve a vital role. And that's the thing that we have to understand. And I just think that when we're so fixated on if LeBron or Michael Jordan was the GOAT, if we're so fixated on the latest movie or the latest song, then when stuff happens in Washington, D.C. or state capitals, county government and city halls and school boards, then we go, oh my God, how do we not know this? It's because our attention was diverted in somewhere else.
That's right, somewhere else. And people use that to keep it somewhere else. They want, even with our athletes, they want to lock them down in contracts where they can't even speak what needs to be spoken. That's not our history. Our history is that if you look at what Jackie Robinson did, you remember when Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and James, and they got together and brought Muhammad Ali in. That's the true tradition of our work, is that we are in a fight and a struggle. And we've been in one for the soul of the democracy, the soul of civilization, and we don't have time to be one-dimensional. We really don't. We need all hands on deck. I was telling somebody just the other day, every athlete, every actor, every preacher, every person, Trump did something the other day and it kind of missed it. You talked about it when you said, listen, this man now wants to take an executive order and undermine voting rights. And I've looked at even some of the other news. They've not talked about that. I understand the sensationalism and the necessary around, for instance, the Epstein files. But one of the things you do, you can multitask. A lot of the other media, they can't multitask. They get stuck on one thing, one perspective, and that's all they do. You have shown us over these years that, in fact, you have to multitask, because when it comes to Black folk and poor people and low-wage folk and other people who are suffering in this country, in this world, they don't face just one problem at a time. Mm-hmm. They don't face one problem at a time. They face many problems, and a lot of them we don't have to continue to face if we can organize our power.
Yep.
You remember, Roland, when we had the conversation when everybody was talking about what couldn't be done, and we had the conversation about, listen, did you all realize that poor people, for instance, now, and black people and poor and low-wage brown people control 40% of the electorate? People weren't talking about that. People said, what? Is that true? Yes, it's true. Now the issue is, what do we do with that? I'm glad, Doc, that you push us, that you push the community, that you push into the community and into the consciousness, things that make people say, what? What in the world? Because if we don't have that kind of conscious shaking, then we're never going to have the kind of community shifting that will be necessary to face the challenges of today.
Also, where we are, and this is, and you and I talk about this a whole lot, and we know there are people who are friends of ours, who are frat brothers of ours, who hate this. We also got to have black accountability. It's a lot of people who say they represent black interests, yet don't like to be challenged on what they're actually doing. And my philosophy has always been the same. If you do good, I'm going to talk about you. If you do bad, I'm going to talk about you. At the end of the day, I'm going to talk about you. And so we've got to have accountability of folk who are out there representing the interests of black folks who meet at the White House or state capitals or the Congress and then say, okay, you promised you were going to do this. What have you actually done? It's easy to plan an event, plan a protest, plan a march, but I'm always like, okay, what we doing the day after, and then the day after, and then the day after. And I think that's also where we have to be. Part of what King talked about, and Du Bois talked about it, and Martin Delaney talked about it, and Ida B. Wells Barnett, and Frederick Douglass, and Robert Abbott, and John Sinstack, and Louis Martin, and all the pioneers in black-owned media. It was also holding black leadership accountable, saying, are you representing the interests of the people and not yourself?
That's exactly right. You know, I'll tell you something funny, Roland. My team that puts together media some years ago had called me and said, we've got you going on Roland. I said, I can't go on Roland tonight. And they said, why? I said, because I haven't figured out the end product. They said, well, just go on and talk about the beginning, get the headline. I said, you don't understand. They said, Roland, your friend. I said, you still don't understand. He's not going to let me get away with a headline on his show. He's going to ask me, what is this going to do? What's the end result? I'm not going on this show until we figure that out. Now, if y'all can figure that out in the next 12 hours, then I'll go on the show tomorrow. If not, then you all just wait until a few days and we get, because the brother is not playing. And that's what we need. This deal of getting a headline and then moving the hell on is not what we need in these times. Our people don't need to be played with and toyed with. The times are too serious in this civilization. And this thing. I remember one time that somebody was on your show and they said something like, Trump is a racist. And you said, and what else? I mean, because you were like, okay, you said that, but what does that mean? Where are you going with that? Where does that get you? What else? Are you going to not deal with the authoritarianism, the neo-fascism, the policies? Okay, what are you going to do in relationship to policy? How is that going to happen? And if we don't have that, Roland, we'll have the tendency, even we used to talk about it in black preaching, where people have a lot of gravy and no substance and no meat. Mm-hmm. And that's not the time we're in, brother. So I want to personally thank you, Doc, for making folk know, even me, that if you're going to go on the show, you better have your stuff ready. You better be able to answer the question, and you better be able to talk about how you're going to start something and sustain it and keep it going until real change takes place.
Last point here, I put this graphic up on social media today, sent it out, where as part of our anniversary, our goal is to get folks to give $1 million between now and the end of the year. Let me know when your team has that pastoral graphic ready so we can push that as well. But the point there that I've laid, we got 2 new shows we're launching, a daily show, a weekly business show. We want to launch a health show. And we want to be focused in 2026 to travel this country doing the show in town halls from battleground states. You got critical Senate races in Georgia, in North Carolina. You got a brother running for governor in Nevada. You've got a brother running for governor in Michigan. It's a lot of different races. And what I say is that and you emphasize this, I do as well. we can't just tell folk, hey, we need y'all to vote. No, we have to literally be on the ground, touching people, informing, educating, enlightening, but also organizing and mobilizing, because too much black power is sitting at home, untapped, unused, and we've got to be able to reach these folks to change what's going on.
Black power in this next election, in the so-called off-year election, if we go on instead of off, if we don't listen to what the pundits say, well, you know, in the midterms, it's off year. If we say no year's an off year for us, because we have to stay, and that everything we have fought for and are fighting for is under attack. And I say this everywhere, if just 65% of black folk that are already registered would vote consistently, we could flip the entire political strategy, attitudes and atmosphere in this country. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to put that grant. We've already sent it out to hundreds of thousands of people. Those of you that are listening tonight, we want you to grab it from our site, grab it from here, continue to push it out. Let's push this way over $1 million. I want to challenge at least 1,000 people to give $1,000, particularly those of us who are clergy, who are pastors, who could do that for this effort, for this work, for what Roland is doing on our behalf. The brother is not doing this just for Roland Martin. You don't take on this kind of stress and even criticism just for yourself. He literally is saying, I will not be quiet. And y'all know when he says bring the funk, we all know what that means. That's not just about a dance floor. That is about that I'm getting in the middle of this arena and we're not playing, because our people are not to be played with, and the times are too serious and the issues are too important, and our power is too great for it not to be unleashed and used the way it could be.
Indeed. Bishop William Barber, appreciate it. Thanks for the support, the prayers, and Repairs of the Breach Poor People's campaign. Has been a consistent supporter of this show, putting your money where your mouth is, and so we appreciate that. It's a lot more work to do. I know you got a plane to catch. I appreciate you being on the 7th anniversary show.
Thank you, my brother. 06.
Yes, sir. Thanks a bunch. Folks, going to go to break. I got a panel there ready to chat. We'll be right back on the 7th anniversary of Roland Martin Unfiltered, 4th anniversary of the Black Star Network. Folks, back in a moment.
Thank you so much, Roland Martin. I love you, and I am so absolutely committed to you because of your dedication to the Black community in this country. And I want you to know that you are doing the kind of work that we don't get in other places. And I appreciate it. I will support you. I'm available anytime that I can get on the program, because you deserve to have the response and respect of everybody because of the work that you do.
Next on A Balanced Life, here on Black Star Network, we're talking what it means to be a balanced young adult and turning 21. I know 21 is one of those ages where you think you're grown. You can do whatever you want. The law says that you can. But what are you packing in your 21-year-old toolkit that will allow you to not only survive, but to thrive?
You have every right to make whatever decision that you want to make, okay? Because you're grown. Don't go out here and do something and then want to come back and expect somebody else to clean it up for you.
That's all this week on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie here on Black Star Network.
Thank you, dear brother, and I would hope that you would continue to get the message to the masses as you do. There are many places where I'm not welcome, but I know that I'm always welcome, and you always treat people with a great degree of dignity and respect, and it means a lot to me to know that we can get a message out to the masses. So thank you for helping us do this.
anniversary.
DC, that's right, the cussing Reese. Of course, Michael Brown, former member of the DNC Finance Committee, and don't bother that little youth group he's a member of. That's right, that's called the Fly-Away Signal. That's what that is. Of course, my alpha brother, Dr. Mustafa Santiago Ali, the only fraternity here. Former senior advisor for environmental justice at the EPA. Also, Eugene Craig, CEO, X Factor Media, Inc., and he is probably, Trump cusses him out more than he cusses me out. Randy Bryan, entrepreneur, author of Never Said, 25 phrases you should never ever say to keep your job and friends. Shockingly, she's actually in the country. Dr. Greg Carr, Department of Afro-American Studies, Howard University, host of The Black Table on the Black Star Network. And of course, somebody who we first met, we actually fought at a movie screening, 12 Years a Slave, and it turned into a Twitter beef, and then that's how he got on the show. So, y'all, this is no lie. I'm telling y'all, this is no lie. Plus, Greg was on our first ever Roland Martin Unfiltered 7 years ago. Yep, I got the video. I'm going to play it in a little bit. Wow. And of course, Linda Sarsour is here. Linda is, of course, an activist. She's been working on the ground all over the country and the world. And yeah, she probably has more people cussing her out than I do. So glad to have everybody here. Let's get right into it. But first, before I go to the story, so I'll start this way. So I'll start with Greg. So Greg was here on the first show. And again, we told this story, y'all. So I was moderating a panel. They had a screening of 12 Years a Slave. And so a sister asked me a question, and I said, I'm a free black man. And she went off, you ain't free. I was like, what the hell you think you're talking to? And so then she started going at it, and I was like, let's go. Right. And so Greg was on the front row, and so Greg started talking. So then we go to social media. Folks were like, oh, yeah, you ain't going to sit here challenge Greg Carr. I was like, I don't give a fuck who he is. I was like, bring his ass on the show. And people were like, you ain't never heard of the Carr? I'm like, no. Oh, all these Howard people, I was like, come on the show if you want to go. Right. That's how Greg came on the show.
And Greg, you said I ain't scared. You said I ain't scared.
I went to sleep. Next morning, like I say, Twitter was fighting. No, Twitter. He fights everybody.
He really does.
Right. Roland was fighting about 1,000 people. I'm like, and I got it, I've known that young lady since she was 14. She was my student in Philadelphia. Shanice Thompson. She now has a PhD. My colleague at Howard. We hired her. She wow. And I never let the day pass. I would not be down here Roland Martin if not who was so mad when you said you were free. She said, how you going to be free? It's the prison industrial complex. And then, he going to argue with everybody. That's my kid. So I'm like, hold on.
I was like, bring your ass. I was like, I ain't scared enough, y'all. Let's go.
Roland never said.
That's what happened.
That little green room at TV One, right?
Oh, yeah. That was at 101. Not 101 Constitution. It was where NBC News Channel.
Yeah, Joe Scarborough, all of them be sitting in that little room. Y'all remember that little room? What's the guy that wrote Bob Woodward? They all be sitting around. Roland come through and they'd all stop. Hey, Roland, what's going on? I'm like, oh, so y'all know him for real? No, y'all never put him on your show, though.
Ain't been that much black before or since. all in one place. So let me go to Reese. Let me tell y'all. So when Reese first came on, Reese was trying to be a normal commentator, and I was like, not normal. So the first couple of times, I was like, listen, I ain't call your ass for you trying to be like everybody else. I was like, the person who I saw on Twitter, I need you to bring that energy here.
Period.
She's like, really? I'm like, yes, I don't need you trying to sound like the rest of you. She told Tip, I was like, Reese, we don't do that. We don't do that. She's like, oh, I can cuss. I was like, the show called Unfiltered. And so she has used the word MF at least 7,000 times.
At least, yes. Because I've been on the show for 5 years. So 7,000 sounds about right.
Yeah, right. And people were like, I can't believe you're putting that cussing woman on the show. And I was like, I own this shit. So what's your problem? And then, of course, got the Sirius XM radio show, all that good stuff.
Indeed.
Fuck you.
Here I am, bitch.
Wow.
Where can we find you? I'd like to look you up. Whoever had an issue.
People were bothered, and I was like, I don't really care what y'all think.
But where can we find them? Where can we find them?
Right. So they still out there running them out because the whole point, whether it was at TV One or here, the whole point was to create a platform for non-traditional voices who would never get called by the other networks. They wouldn't. They would. I mean, I was at CNN for 6 years. I knew it took me 4.5 years to get there. So I knew how they played the game, who they put on.
Absolutely.
And so the whole point is, how do you expand the universe? And I remember at TV One, there were people who they were like, oh man, I think it was 16. All these, man, they hiring all your people. I was like, yo, Jeff Zucker can hire everybody. I'm gonna go find a whole new crop. And then they go hire all of them. I'm gonna go find a whole new crop. So that was the whole point. Because I knew the game that they played and how they gatekeeped as to who they would put on the air to speak on various issues.
But that was all 3 networks because
that's all of them.
All of them. I mean, there isn't a
cable and broadcast.
There isn't a black person probably doing commentary right now on cable news that didn't come through the Roland Martin ecosystem over the last decade. Whether it's Giano at Fox News, whether it's the folk over at MSNBC or the folk over at CNN, every last one of them came through either News One Now or Roland Martin Unfiltered. Yeah.
Again, that is understanding in terms of how this whole thing worked. I'm glad to have Michael here because for the longest he couldn't get his damn computer to work. I mean, it was like, you know I ain't lying. See, I mean, all the Omega was coming out. The lighting, the internet, the laptop. I was like, Michael, just bring your ass in. We can't. What was the deal, Michael? What was going on?
Well, after Hannity and O'Reilly fired me, you picked me up. And I appreciate that. Thank you. That was very kind of you. So we had some technology issues. I don't know what to say. I know your staff, my frat brother in the back, everybody's so angry with me. So my apologies. Congratulations on 7 years to you and your team. Congratulations, folks.
Appreciate it. Mustafa, of course, Mr. the Green Man, always talking about the environmental stuff. And again, a perfect example. Again, so many other shows, we're not talking about black people in the environment.
That's true.
Yep. I mean, you gave an opportunity to put a spotlight on what was happening across the country. And not only did you do it here in the studio, but you also came out to the community to make sure that they knew that they were valued and heard so that people could actually see what's going on. And that's the difference, because all those other shows never showed up in community. So how do you really know what's going on?
Right.
How can you tell the story properly and make sure that it's authentic if you're not showing up? But you also expand it. Because it wasn't just about the environment and climate. It was also about how does it impact housing? How does it talk about jobs? How do we do all these other types of things? Because our communities are holistic. So we've got to be able to address it that way. And you gave the platform for that, not only for myself, but for others also, because that's incredibly important in making sure that other voices who are out there doing the work also get to shine.
Got to. Randy, how'd you get here?
So this is what's crazy about it. You don't even remember. You were doing a show like on DEI or something. I can't remember. And I was doing shows like with the normal, like you said, the normal stations. I was on there talking appropriately. I did a show for DEI. You completely forgot about me. Then I said, I'm so sick of talking about DEI in this appropriate way because I was getting pissed off because they weren't doing anything. And so I went off one day on a video. And you DM'd me and you said, I want you on the show. And I'm like, oh my gosh, good to see you again. You're like, I don't know who you are. But I remembered being on the show. And I kept telling people, I want to be on Roland Martin's show because I want to be able to talk about it in a real way instead of doing this bullshit that I was doing on all these other networks, that I was the person they would call. Because I wanted to make change, but I was also wanted to keep talking, right? So you have to talk a certain way, and I was playing the game.
The way Reese was trying to talk when she came on this show.
Right.
We ain't doing that, Reese.
Right, that's what I was doing. And then you
It was twice.
Okay, twice.
The second time I was like,
don't do it. Yeah, but you do automatically do it. Yeah, and then Carol, I got a note from your producer, Carol, her wonderful self, and she's like, come on. And you haven't gotten rid of me since.
All right, so let me tell y'all, Linda, so this 20th anniversary Million Man March, all right? So, were all 3 of y'all stage hosts that day? All right, so it was you, Tamika.
Yeah, Tamika was the co-chair.
Tamika, Carmen, and yourself. So I'm interviewing 3 of them afterwards. So I was like, all right, listen, now this is over. I said, so here's about to happen. I said, I'm about to put all 3 of y'all on Tom Joyner Morning Show, on TV. I said, let me be real clear. When I call your ass, you better answer the phone. I said, if I call you at 7:05 and I got to go live in 10 minutes, I need you to be ready. I said, because I said, your voice has got to be out there in terms of leadership. I said, be ready when I call. They were like, okay. That conversation happened. And that was the whole point. Because again, so the whole point is being intentional with how you use media and what voices to put out, knowing how other people were going to freeze folks out or drive a different narrative.
That's right. I mean, you always did that for us, Roland, and that's why I'm here all the way in Washington, D.C. to say congratulations on 7 years. You've been someone that has reaffirmed the movement. You've seen the people outside that risk their lives every day for the things we believe in. You were one of the few people that started helping us to put Breonna Taylor's name on an international level. You put her voice out there. She was murdered in March. No one knew about her in March. No one knew about her in April. No one knew about her in May. And then you helped us put her name out there so people knew her name all over this country. And ever since, you know, you've given me an opportunity. As you know, mainstream media don't like people like me. They like to talk about my people without my people, as you know. And you have always said, no, you got to let the people speak for themselves. You've given us that opportunity in this last very dark 2 years to talk about our perspective about what's happening and what we want. So I appreciate you and happy anniversary.
Appreciate it. I'm going to give y'all a true story. So the Women's March, they're having that big thing in Detroit. And so they asked me to speak. And there were haters who were like, no, he shouldn't speak. And Tamika Carmen and Linda were like, oh, y'all can sit y'all asses down. He going to speak. So when I got up there and spoke, I said, because it was like 3,000 or something like that? 5,000. I said, listen, wherever 5,000 women are gathered, I want to be. But check this out. So it was the white women who got upset. They come after, that was sexist. They were going crazy. And the sister was like, listen, I'm gonna need y'all to be quiet. I need to get my photo. Can y'all just move the hell out the way? But so while they were going off, I said, well, first of all, I said, no, let them run their mouths. I said, because what y'all don't understand is the Montgomery bus boycott started with the women. So I was like, so again, these white women viewed the comment as sexist, but not understanding the history of black protest movement and how women were at the center of it. So they were sitting here looking at it as a sexist thing, having no understanding of Joanne Robinson or any of the sisters in Montgomery and how they started. And that also was part of the problem with the women's march, not understanding how certain folk didn't want men involved, as opposed to saying, no, who got our back? Who with us? As opposed to who fighting us.
I mean, it's the same set of white women who were fighting for voting rights and got their voting rights, and black women didn't get it till about 1965. Exactly. So that's the kind of people we were working with. You know, this is things that we went through in the Women's March with leadership. I mean, our leader was Tamika Mallory, who's an incredible black woman, an organizer, activist, and people didn't like to see people in these positions who are powerful and influential and also eloquent and able to articulate the positions of the people that we were from. And Tamika made it very clear. She said any movement that doesn't include her black son is not a movement she wants to be a part of. So just because you have a women-led movement, don't mean that you're only fighting for women. We're fighting for our communities and our families. And that's something that, unfortunately, white women have a hard time understanding, which is probably why we're in the situation that we're in right now.
And one of the reasons that the Women's March is essentially non-existent is because by running y'all off, they literally ran off leadership, and I have no idea what the hell they're doing now. So all of that organizing, all of that data collection, all that completely went to waste because they did not want to follow women of color as leaders. Now, one of the reasons I wanted to have Linda here, I saw this on social media the other day, and I kept warning y'all this was gonna happen. So if y'all watch this show, I kept telling y'all about all of these white folks and the birth rate of white people. I told y'all, I talked about it in my book, White Fear. And so everything I put in my book, y'all, unfortunately, has come true. And even though these networks didn't want to book me on to discuss it, and they still won't discuss the reality of white fear in this country, it's still here. So y'all may have seen in the last couple of weeks how white folks like Charlie Kirk and others, by following Elon Musk, all of a sudden now are attacking immigration in Europe. And this video was put out. Watch this.
Guys, this is Paris in 2025. They're lying about the numbers. are the new France. Coming soon to you, to a neighborhood near you.
So I want y'all to understand what's going on, okay? Elon Musk tweets a lot about the declining birth rates around the world, okay? You had Conor McGregor, who was convicted of who was actually found guilty of sexual assault, hanging out at the White House, complaining about the indigenous people in Ireland losing their cities because of immigration. Now, understand what you're now seeing, that actually has been happening in Europe for the last 10 to 15 years. I was talking about it then when folks were not paying attention to it. And so here's what they're all angry about. They are angry about African immigrants, Muslim immigrants in London, in England, in France, in Germany, in Italy, in Ireland, in all of these white European countries. Now, why are they mad? Whose fault is it that white people stop screwing? It's just a fact. The white birth rate has been declining for the past 30 years. I showed y'all the chart on this show. The only reason Germany's economy is still where it is not because of white Germans, it's because of immigration. I keep trying to explain to people here, especially all these ADOS, FBA, B1 people who know nothing about history, you cannot have a future if you do not have GDP. You have to have people who are living and working and contributing to an economy in order for your GDP to remain where it is. So the United States GDP is $30 trillion. China's GDP is $19 trillion. Why does China, people, remember they were saying for a decade, China's gonna surpass us. But China made a huge mistake with their one-child rule because they said we're overpopulated. They were not that great at math because they were not counting what's gonna happen in 30 years when a 60-year-old person is 90 and they don't reach 90. Unfortunately, they become an ancestor. So what happened? China had to get rid of their one-child rule and go to a two-child rule because they didn't have enough people to replace the folks who were passing. Right. And so all of these European countries are pissed off with black immigrants, pissed off with Muslim immigrants. But let's be clear, those countries will not exist in the next 10, 20 years the way they are now if they do not replace population. But the racism we're seeing, Linda, this is all tied to racism. Charlie Kirk is tweeting these things, Elon Musk tweeting these things. Now all of a sudden, all of these different conservatives are not talking about, oh, this could be us. Well, guess what? Ask Springfield, Ohio, what happens when the white folks leave and die. And then they were crapping on the Haitian immigrants, and now the Haitian immigrants are booking. Springfield, Ohio is gonna, they complain, they're about to lose jobs, lose housing, lose all sorts of things because they wanna run the black folks off. This is the latest anti-black, anti-Muslim racism of MAGA white supremacists.
That's right. I mean, everything you said, and if the white people in Europe don't want our people, then stop exploiting our wealth in our countries. Stop supporting war. Stop bombing people in places like Iraq. So when you get an influx of Iraqi refugees or Syrian refugees, or you're getting folks coming up from Africa for better opportunities, oftentimes the European countries and the West, which includes us, are part of the reason why they come here. Immigrants, where you are born is where you want to be. I promise you, if you ask any immigrant, if they could live in dignity in the places that they are from, you want to be with your culture, with your language, with your food, with the land that your ancestors, you know.
What's called home.
Yeah, that's your home.
Yeah.
Like, my Palestinian parents would love to live in Palestine. Free Palestine, and we promise you our one-way ticket over there. So that's part of it. It's what you said. And also, they have no self-awareness of why there's an influx of refugees coming to it. They had Afghan refugees. You had a 21-year war in Afghanistan. Apparently, one you fought with trillions of American taxpayer dollars to fight the terrorists, which were the Taliban. And then you all withdrew, and guess who the people that are in charge in Afghanistan? The same people you told us you was fighting for 21 years. So there's no self-awareness. Even Central American immigrants, the exploitation we've done in Central American countries, what we've done in Mexico, in Ecuador, in Guatemala, there's no self-awareness. Trust me, a Guatemalan wants to be in Guatemala if they could raise their children in safety and in security. But even, you know from the days of the drug war here, the war on drugs, there's many documentaries. It's not just me. Our own government was involved, you know what I'm saying, in the drug war. And so these cartels that have come up, and anyway, I just watch these people and I'm like, I don't even know what they're talking about.
Nola, the reason I'm laughing, because you got all of these immigrants who are coming into France who speak French. I wonder why.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe it's called colonization. So if you're mad that they're coming to France, maybe you should have been pissed the French were in their countries.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's interesting listening to this conversation about how everyone came to be here. And, you know, you don't know this. This is the first time I'm going to tell you this. But, you know, I came from doing all the shows, MSNBC and BBC and Al Jazeera. I was one of the few Black faces talking about foreign policy and national security. Right. And Reese is how I got to be on this show. And when I started doing more Black shows, a lot of people in my world were kind of like side-eyeing me. But what happened was, when I would come back with data from reading the comments, talking to people on Reese's show, being able to talk about what people are responding to in real time, then all of a sudden I became valuable in a very different way. I got invited into the National Security Council messaging space, you know, with all the top, you know, I call this like the gang of 33 or 34, where, you know, you have the Michael McFaul's, ex-CIA directors, and I'm in this space. I am the only Black person in that space. And every single time I had something to say, they didn't necessarily execute, but they listened because I was the only one doing Black media. I wasn't valuable on doing MSNBC and all those shows because pretty much I was saying the same things that other political scientists were saying. You know, I wasn't really saying anything different. I might have had a little bit more personality and my outfit was fly, you know, but you know what I'm saying, that red lip. But essentially, I wasn't really saying anything very different. But it is when I started doing Roland Martin, doing Reese's show, and doing other Black media is when my value increased in a very different way behind the scenes. Because what they were getting wrong in the Beltway, I'm saying that's not working with Black people in Texas. That's not working with Black people in Louisiana. It's just not working. And so that was something that meant a great deal to me in my world. And even still to this day, you know, I walk into these spaces and I still have a different level of cachet because I do Black media. That's right. I have a different perspective. I have different data. I talk to different people. And it's so interesting how I have this concept where, you know, as a Black woman to be visible and invisible at the same time, how you can have a seat at the proverbial table, but are people really listening, right? So I can walk into these spaces and I have a certain level of swag and cachet that I carry, but at the same time, are you really listening to what I'm saying? Because when I think about a lot of the things that happened towards the end of the administration with a lot of foreign policy things, I know quite clearly what I was saying that was not working, but no one was listening, right? And I cannot tell you how many times since then, and I'm not gonna name names, people have come up to me and said, Nola, I wish we would have listened.
That's right.
I am not kidding. And it's humbling, it's infuriating. And the one thing that I want to say is once we are out of this mire, once we're out of this mess, I see that finger. I hope.
You need to close.
I hope that we aren't just decorative at the table, that people actually listen and execute because our lived experiences and perspectives are different and valuable.
Eugene, what's happening is, and again, people have to pay attention. What we are seeing is all by design. When it comes to MAGA, when it comes to the Heritage Foundation, this is about whiteness. That's what this is about. So at Peter Thiel's conference, NatCon, okay, Missouri U.S. Senator Eric Schmidt, this is somebody who can't even trace his folk to the Mayflower. But this is, we played this yesterday, this is literally what he said in a 25-minute speech at that conference, and how all of these white conservatives clapped when he said this.
The Continental Army soldiers dying of frostbite at Valley Forge, the Pilgrims struggling to survive in the hard winter soil of Plymouth, the pioneers striking out from Missouri for the wild and dangerous frontier, the outnumbered Kentucky settlers repelling wave after wave of Indian war band attacks from beyond the stockade walls. All of them will be astonished to hear that they were only fighting for a proposition. They believed they were fighting for a nation, a homeland for themselves and their descendants. They fought, they bled, they struggled, they died for us. They built this country for us. America, in all its glory, is their gift to us, handed down across the generations. It belongs to us. It's our birthright. It's our heritage, our destiny. If America is everything and everyone, then it is nothing and no one at all. When they tear down our statues and monuments, mock our history, and insult our traditions, they're attacking our future as well as our past. By changing the stories we tell about ourselves, they believe they can build a new America with the new myths, a new people. But America doesn't belong to them. It belongs to us. It's our home. It's a heritage entrusted to us by our ancestors. It's a way of life that is ours and only ours. If we disappear, then America too will cease to exist.
Well, see, Eugene, it's very interesting because that's exactly the mantra of the Republican Party. That is pure whiteness. That's white supremacy. It's white nationalism. And what they want to do, even when Mitch McConnell says this reminds me of the 1930s, America's got to remember, Hitler sent his people to the United States to study Jim Crow and brought it back to Nazi Germany. And so what they want to do is the exact same thing. So when these white folks in America are going to France and complaining about these Muslim and black immigrants, this is nothing. It's the exact same thing. They want to extend whiteness and reclaim it globally.
And this is the thing, right? So I say all the time that MAGA's built on the foundation of a Steve King. It's built on the foundation of an Andy Biggs. It's built on the foundation of Pat Buchanan. It's built on the foundation of white conservatives that may have been considered fringe for a very long time. And then Donald Trump comes in and puts a happy smile, a jet, a helicopter, a personal security detail in front of it, makes it look really presidential, and then rides that into the White House. So I mean, it's literally been the putting lipstick on a pig to go through the Sarah Palin era that that timeline goes through. That's what we're dealing with, and now they're very naked about it. Peter Thiel has funded many organizations over the years, and built
white South African Peter Thiel.
White South African Peter Thiel. Some organizations that disagree with him and lost that funding, and some organizations that leaned into it, and he's still funding and working through them. And what one more time, in these rooms, this is where you get the naked, honest truth, where they feel free to speak, as they would if they're in the back cloakroom on the Hill. Now that we got that covered, I get to how I got here. And being the greatest Republican to walk on this set and the one that's still standing. Andrew Lee got me here, told Roland and Jackie, hey, book my guy. We had the black and blue segment, and from there, Roland had me every Monday morning. Which then, I guess, led to that infamous Umar clip that still goes viral every 2 months. So, go ahead.
Michael, here's what's interesting. I'm sitting here looking at Chuck Schumer's feed. I don't see nothing about Eric Schmidt. And see, this to me is a huge problem for Democrats. Yeah. Leadership right now is like, no, we should be focusing on food prices and gas prices and whatever. So this other stuff is a distraction. They even think the Epstein stuff is a distraction. But what's crazy is if you are the Senate minority leader and you can't call out that racist speech, you should not be in leadership.
That part.
But what would he call out? What would Schumer call out?
Well, clearly you're right. But the one thing we being Democrats, haven't understood yet is our messaging. Clearly, that has not worked. The democracy message doesn't connect. It sounds great, obviously, but it doesn't connect. And it's hard for white leaders in my party to call white supremacy what it is. Mm-hmm. If you have poor white people in America, that have no problem losing their farms as long as the white supremacy agenda is first priority, it's hard to make any argument about anything else. That's right. So once they had somebody like the guy who's at 1600 Pennsylvania now saying it's okay to give speeches like that in public and giving people the ability to commit racism right in your face. And if your party leaders don't really do anything about it, it's hard to message that. And white supremacy is, you know, the reason I got to your show, thank goodness, I mean, besides me whipping you up on the golf course, besides that.
I know you high right now.
Besides that.
I know you high right now.
Besides that part.
I know you high. You can't outstep me or outgolf me. Now go on right ahead. I don't know why you at. Just don't.
I have a bad Achilles, so I can't.
Oh, okay, all right. That's why you can't finish your shoulder turn either? Okay, go ahead.
So when I got into it with Ann Coulter on Fox on the Hannity show, and my days were numbered after our confrontation. And
sounds like me and Mika on Morning Joe. But go ahead.
Okay, well, yeah, you did have that, didn't you? But when you're on those kind of platforms, yes, you have to conduct yourself differently than being unfiltered relative to your language. But that doesn't mean you have to take a step back from your position and your argument.
Right.
And a lot of folks get on there and they're so happy to be there. For example, they throw these contracts at you. I just didn't want a contract from Fox. I couldn't do it. My mother told me not to do it, so I didn't do it.
God rest her soul.
Yes, thank you very much. So when you take that, it gives you the freedom to not worry about consequences. And so when Ann took her microphone off and got mad at Sean for not basically defending her, I wasn't attacking her. I was attacking her position.
That's right.
My days became numbered. O'Reilly had kicked me off a long time ago because he kept talking about Jesse Jackson and I didn't like it. So you have to go on with principle and not any fear. And it's hard to do.
Randy, I'm sitting there looking, I don't see nothing from Bernie Sanders.
Right.
I don't see nothing from Elizabeth Warren. And I'm like, what? Y'all weren't aware that speech actually was given? And just know, I actually sent a text to one of Schumer's people.
I know you did. I'm sure you did. The problem is that everything goes under the umbrella of white supremacy, and it is very difficult, particularly to have white people who benefit, who are the greatest benefactors of white supremacy, go against it. And so that's what we saw, like you were just talking about in the last election and things. White women, to tell white women, although you know, they suffer for it. We talk about the birth rate. That's why they're losing their rights over their entire bodies, because they have to get the numbers up. They don't have rights, but they still get those little bit of benefits and they cling on to it. And this is why we see other groups that seem not to get it. If we just act a certain way, if we just behave, we will get let into this arena of white supremacy. And if they can't see it now, you're not going to get it. Like, you're not going to get it. And so I believe that the people who are in places of power, they definitely, that power is fueled by white supremacy. And so they're hard, it's difficult for them to speak up against it. They're fearful to speak up against it.
Mustafa, the thing here is this here. When you listen to Schmidt say this, Missouri plans on gerrymandering their state. They want to gerrymander Emmanuel Cleaver and Wesley Bell out of the congressional seats. 2 African Americans in Missouri. They wanted to be all Republican. And so what these Democrats don't understand is what Schmidt said, that literally is Republican Party policy. So when he kept saying us, he literally said our ancestors meant this for them and their descendants. And basically said this wasn't meant for none of y'all who now since come. Now, we all knew that was the case anyway, but that's literally what they're saying. When you're saying, so all y'all black people, y'all Latinos, y'all Asians, and you Native Americans, this shit wasn't for you.
Right.
We probably should remember the words of Malcolm X when he said, he talked about those who are being oppressed and the folks also on the other side of the equation who are doing the oppressing. And we see that play out right now when we look at all the things that are currently going on in relationship to the gerrymandering and people grabbing hold of power. So these folks understand the dynamics that are going on in that space, and they refuse to let go of it, and they're willing to do whatever they need to do to be able to hold on to the power, to hold on to the resources, and to push down whoever is in the way. So that's the dynamic that we currently have going on.
Greg?
Yeah, I agree. We have a fundamental misunderstanding of the nature of nation states. This is a 2,000-year problem. The problem of settler colonies, more specifically, and very specifically the problem of the greatest settler colony in the history of the last 500 years, which is the United States of America. This is the end of the age of Europe. their desperation
Yes, it is desperation.
is delicious. No, seriously. If we zoom out several tens of thousands of years, you know, sometimes I wonder whether Africans should have ever migrated into Western Eurasia and got caught between them ice ages and adapted. We should never have walked up here in the first place. This might be ultimately the greatest lesson of this, because whiteness is, the culture of whiteness is rooted in a sense of scarcity, in a sense of insecurity, and that comes from resource scarcity. So their whole philosophy, when he goes through that, I love Eric Schmidt, the former Attorney General of Missouri, because that's what we all learned in school. It's manifest destiny. It's that white woman floating over them as they go to California. This is what they do. So when Schmidt talks about the Pilgrims, these religious fanatics, the Christian version of Al-Qaeda in some ways, when they got here to the Massachusetts Bay Colony, they looking to do murder. Why? Because they came from a place where murder was the standard. When he's talking about Lewis and Clark leaving from Missouri at the behest of Thomas Jefferson, he forgot about Sacagawea and York, who was a captive enslaved by them, who went out there, who was meeting with the indigenous people on the way out. But our problem is we want them included in the narrative so that we can somehow say, we too are Americans, we built this. And as Richard Pryor says, shut up, fool, you want the Indians mad at us too? Why are we buying into this criminal enterprise? Chuck Schumer ain't gonna say that because he believes that same story. He just wouldn't say it that way. They think America's exceptional. This is American exceptionalism. We have always used that language, but not because we believed it, but because it was a defense mechanism. Everybody who has improved this country that is not white has done so in order to build a society that these people never imagined.
Right.
So I don't say that it started with the Tea Party or with, no, this started with George Washington. It started with William and Mary. It started with the Virgin Queen. That's why Virginia, and it continued and echoed through the years. Eisenhower is no different than them. Grover Cleveland was no different than them. Rutherford B. Hayes was no different than them. Andrew Johnson was no different than them. And everybody before Lincoln, they said, well, Trump is the worst president ever. The first half dozen of them were human traffickers. How in the hell are you going to say, no, they're all worse? I said all that to say this. This platform, this station allows us to have that conversation. And we're at an age now where they'll never be able to go back to Walter Cronkite. They're saying Dan Rather's still doing news 20 years after he is. Everybody now, Mehdi Hassan got a show called Mehdi Hassan Unfiltered. God bless you, but we all know where you got that from. And I'm loving Zateo and all that stuff, Midas Touch, whoever you want to name it. Every time I see you, sis, it's not on the stuff that was legacy media, but everybody's watching those other platforms now. They can't put their world back together. Now they're trying to compete who's going to be the most radical sounding. Don't even worry about that. Come over here. Because we're not doing this to build America. We're doing this to build a new society. I love Eric Schmidt. He's a desperate man, and we're going to break his political back now because the illusion is being dropped that we believe in anything he believes. I want him to keep talking like that.
And see, to the point about, we're going to go to break, but to the point about Pat Buchanan, he literally said, our fear is that they will do to us what we did to them.
No question.
In Mitch Landrieu's book, Mitch Landrieu said the same. He said, white people, he said, my white people, he said, I've been around black people a long time. Trust me, they have more empathy than we do. They won't do to us what we did to them. But that literally is what's driving their fear.
Absolutely.
And that's why they cannot handle 2043. Absolutely. They cannot handle Black power and Latino power, and then Latinos are going to have to come to their realization that you have to deal with your whiteness because you got white Latinos who are more white than they are brown, and not realizing that they also don't like y'all. I'm like, don't get that confused. They'll use you for numerical reasons, but do understand they don't like y'all either. They don't want none of us who ain't pure Aryan in this country and in power. And it's right there. That is a sitting United States senator at a right-wing conference funded by an apartheid and a son of apartheid, Peter Thiel, who funded J.D. Vance, the current vice president, and that's his conference. So you cannot decouple Thiel and the Edmund Burke Foundation and NetCon from Schmidt, because that is literally where they all stand. I'm going to go to break. We come back. We're going to talk to Congressman Glenn Ivey on today's show. Also, Crystal Mason was on our first show 7 years ago. Do y'all realize that sister is still fighting to be free of the racists in Tarrant County, Texas, who still want to imprison her for a vote that was never even counted. She'll join us as well, folks. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. Again, this is our anniversary. Our goal is simple, to get our folks to contribute at least $1 million between now and the end of the year. There are multiple ways to do so. Of course, you can do so via Cash App. Use the Stripe QR code. The QR code is right there on the screen. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo RM Unfiltered. Zelle Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Checks and money order to make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037 7-0196. Back in a moment.
Thank you, Roland, for covering the matter, because, like, we have to save ourselves. We know the federal government isn't going to save us, and we know the Civil Rights Department, the Department of Justice has been obliterated. And so there's nothing to turn to but us. And so I thank all the activists, I thank the community leaders, the clergy, and I thank you, Roland, and media, black-owned media, who won't let them sweep it under the rug.
Black Star Network, what's happening? It's your man, Kim. And look, my new single, Rock With Me, is on fire. We debuted as the #1 most added and greatest gainer at R&B radio. So look, I want you to go check it out at musicbykim.com. Listen to it, download it, tell me what you think about it. Also, make sure you sign up to be a part of my community so we can stay connected. At Music by Kim on all social media platforms. Thank you for rocking with me. And keep love on the one.
'Cause I want you to rock with me. We live in a strange world till the darkness falls forever. Baby, let's be the dawn. When it feels like it's taking me over, you're making me stronger, my sweet love.
I'm a big fan of your work, and I really appreciate the important role that you play in informing, all of us about what's going on.
Folks, Donald Trump continues to threaten blue cities, sending the National Guard, even though we know he has no legal authority to do so. Glenn Ivey is a congressman from Maryland. He joins us right now. Glenn, glad to have you here. Before I ask you about that, Glenn, I got to ask you this here. You were you worked in the U.S. Attorney's Office. What do you make of these idiots in D.C. trying to prosecute everybody? And the federal Washington D.C. grand jury they've rejected several of these bogus attempts to hit folks with felonies. It's rare that a grand jury rejects a prosecutor's effort to indict, but repeatedly they're like, nah, this ain't flying.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's extremely rare for a grand jury to decline to indict a case. But, I mean, they're trying to charge this guy for throwing a sandwich, and they're trying to charge him with a felony. So, I'm not surprised the grand jury not only declined to indict, but apparently was a little bit insulted that they would waste their time with something like that, because it really is a waste of time. And, Pirro is the new U.S. attorney, and she's coming in, pounding her chest, acting like she's going to be so tough and everything. But those are ridiculous cases to pursue. That's a very serious office. It's an arm of the Department of Justice. They should be pursuing serious cases.
Well, and what we're seeing is, again, they're claiming how they've just drastically slashing crime all across Washington, D.C. But when you look at the actual arrests, so many of them are misdemeanors. They're not actually impacting violent crime.
Right.
Yeah, I think a lot of that is kind of, fake counting, fake numbers, essentially. But, at the end of the day, though, even if hypothetically there was some sort of effect where they were reducing violent crime, it's just a short-term solution. And we know violent crime is a long-term problem. So why don't we do things that we know will work in the long term? When I was a prosecutor in the U.S. Attorney's Office, I was there in the early 90s. Homicides were at 450 to 500 per year. Now they're a fraction of that. And part of the reason they came down is because D.C. has had sustained efforts, not just in enforcement. You want more cops and all of that and have them, patrolling in the right ways. But they had intervention and prevention programs. They're aimed at reaching kids who are in trouble, reaching kids who are at risk, maybe even reaching folks who are already in jail with reentry efforts. When they come out, and 99.9% do, why don't we try and take steps to make sure that they have the skills to reintegrate into the community? And at the front end of it, let's not wait till somebody gets shot and there's a body on the ground. Let's try and see if we can reach these kids, and usually they're very young people, late teens, early 20s. Let's see if we can reach them before they get to that stage, get the gun out of their hand, and find other ways to resolve whatever the disagreements are. And then, of course, the longer term piece, if you get kids who are getting the education and they see a path forward with respect to jobs and other traditional paths, they'll take that. Not a lot of kids grow up saying, I want to go to jail, I want to be a criminal and all that stuff. There's something that they turn to for a variety of reasons. Let's attack those reasons on the long term. Obviously, these troops aren't about doing that, and they're not trained to do it. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of money. One last point. The Republicans in Congress are withholding $1.1 billion of D.C.'s money from D.C. Now, if they give the $1.1 billion or, free it up so D.C. can use it, the mayor's already said she wants to use it for cops and teachers. So free up the money, let them decide how to use it in the way they want to. Take these guys off the street. If you want to spend $1 million a day, in the District of Columbia, go ahead and do that, but do it on stuff that's going to make a difference in the long term.
Last question here, and that is, we talk about moving forward. I mean, the reality is, look, Republicans control the purse strings. They control the House. They control the Senate. And now that Congress is back. What I'm hearing from people all across the country, folks say they want a far more aggressive fight from the Democratic Party. If you look at the polling data, people do not have, even Democrats and progressives have much faith in Democratic leadership. When you travel the district, what are people saying to you, and what are you taking back to leadership that they need to be doing? Because again, people do not have faith that current Democratic leadership, House and Senate, knows how to effectively combat Donald Trump and MAGA.
Yeah, I mean, that's out there a lot. I mean, a couple of the things that we need to do is continue to build on the cases that we have in court. We've filed some of those in the House of Representatives. The Democracy Forward group, which is supported by the unions, have done an outstanding job in court, getting a lot of injunctions in place. But a lot of times, by the time they get up to the Supreme Court's not necessarily overturning them on the merits, but they're giving the Trump administration enough room to keep doing the destructive activities. I think we need to make sure we keep pushing on all fronts that we possibly can. That's protests like the ones we did, today with respect to D.C. and the militarization of the city. I think it also includes efforts to do focused and targeted work on these toss-up districts in Congress. We need to take the House back next year to actually regain some kind of power. We need to focus on the targeted districts where we've got a shot to do that. And there's some all across the country for sure, but it's not high-profile work, it's not pretty work, but it's the work that can actually win elections. And it's door knocking, it's licking stamps, it's reaching out to people early. Don't wait till the October before the election kind of outreach. Start now. And we can do things where we're explaining to people to make sure they understand that there was a $1 trillion cut to Medicaid that's going to affect them, that there are going to be cuts that take away the tax credits that help them afford health care coverage under Obamacare, that they are going to lose SNAP access and the like. So kids won't necessarily be getting lunches at schools like they used to. There's all kinds of things that have been taken away from them. We need to make sure they understand that and know that. That came from Trump and the congressional Republicans. And then the last piece of what I would say on this front is, we've got to make sure we're doing everything we can to connect with people where they are. Part of this is communication. Part of this is making sure that they hear what's going on. We got outflanked in 2024. They had a lot of these, online influencers and the like on the Republican side. We're building that out now on our side so we can battle them on the information war in spaces where we weren't even present before. And people like you, I think, are doing an outstanding job of getting the message out, getting the information out, getting people mobilized, because knowledge is power. And we're definitely going to need that power in the year coming up.
What also has to happen, Congressman, and that is individuals like yourself and the Congressional Black Caucus now, not next May, not next June, not next October, now must be challenging Ken Martin and the DNC, the Democratic Governors Association, the DCCC, the DSCC, and all of these Democratic donors, and make it clear to them that they've got to stop listening to white Democratic strategists who refuse to listen to black people, who refuse to listen to Latinos, who keep putting billions of dollars into legacy media, funding those networks that nobody's watching. And then what they do is they make digital media compete for a crumb, not crumbs, a crumb, and try to justify all of this. And that, to me, is nonsensical, and it makes no sense. And I've made it perfectly clear to progressive campaigns. I told them what Fat Joe said, yesterday's price ain't today's price. If you want to run ads over here, you're going to pay a real number. What you're not going to do is play me small. And folk like yourself and others are going to have to be very clear with these people, because they need to understand that the game has changed. You cannot target black people the way you used to. That thing is out the window. Even the Obama campaign effort is out the window. It has to be a much longer runway, much more intensive, and it has to be real investment. And unfortunately, too many of these white Democratic strategists do not want to do that. And they're going to learn a painful lesson. And I'm telling you right now, you can mark it down. If they do the same thing next year they did in 24, y'all are not going to win the House. You're not going to win the Senate.
Yeah, that's a great point. Hakeem got a pollster named Terrence Woodbury who focuses on, he does polling in general, but he has a specialty in African American, especially with respect to politics. And one of the things he found was that the messaging really needs to be segmented and reach out to people, not just the folks in my age group, the civil rights age group, and still going to church and all that stuff. But we've got other age groups that aren't reachable in the same way. Going to church on Sunday isn't the way to reach some of them because they're not in church. Going on, as you pointed out, going on broadcast TV, they're not watching broadcast TV. They're not listening to NPR. So we have to find different ways to reach them. But the key point that he made was that, the Democratic Party keeps going after swing voters, they call them. And by that, they mean white voters, pretty much.
They mean white especially
women.
white suburban women.
Yeah, frequently white women. His point, though, was if you look at what's happened with their numbers, they've been stable over the last 4 elections. The last person to get a decent number of white women voters was Barack Obama, and he didn't get over 50%.
And that was 17 years ago.
That's right. Hillary Clinton didn't get it. Kamala didn't get it. That's not moving. Where we are losing votes, though, where we could get it back quickly, is the African American vote. We lost a lot of votes. They didn't necessarily swing over to Trump, although a lot more did than we were expecting. A lot of people stayed home. That's the swing vote that we need to target and make sure we get out, because those are the districts we need to win that can make a difference. And I think also the messaging for African Americans is going to work with a lot of these folks. Latinos and some of the other groups in particular, maybe not to the extent they will with us, but they're losing health care too. They're going to run into high energy prices too. Their groceries are going up too because of the tariffs and things that the Trump administration's doing. We've got to explain to them so they understand that, and we've got to explain the alternative approach that we want to present them with, a lot of which happened in the Biden administration that Trump's dismantling right now. So we've got our work cut out for us, but I think you're right. We've got to make sure, A, we don't wait till the last minute to start getting the messaging out. B, we got to make sure we target the most loyal voters that we have in the Democratic Party or actually anywhere across the board, the African-American vote.
Well, just so you know, I met last year with the House Majority PAC and the Senate Majority PAC and never heard from them again. Not one penny was being paid. So you might want to tell Leader Jeffries and Leader Schumer that.
Will do. Will do.
All right.
And not only that, I think all of us, not just at the leadership level, all of us need to make sure we're doing that kind of work and working with you to help get those things done. Because when we run an ad on your show, or even if it's a local, regional sort of thing, it spills over and can help other people who are running on our tickets as Democrats. It can help them too, even if they're not in our district. So making sure that you have the platform that you need to get the word out, I think is critical for the Democratic Party and, frankly, for the fate of the nation.
All right, Congressman Glenn Ivey, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Keep up the great work.
Thanks a lot. Rebecca Carruthers, President, CEO of Fair Election Center, joins us right now from D.C. And Rebecca, it's real simple. If you don't invest, if you don't spend it where what I call low-hanging fruit or your likely voters, they're going to keep losing. And I tell people, listen, I have never self-identified as a Republican or a Democrat, as a liberal or progressive or conservative. I'm black. And I just look at black interests. And the reality is, if I'm speaking to black interests, they ain't gonna happen going through the Republican Party. But Democrats had better realize they're gonna keep getting their asses handed to them if they ignore or treat black people the same way they historically have done.
Well, first, Roland, thank you so much for having me on your platform. You are the only person in media who has consistently welcomed me back on your platform over and over. So I want to say thank you and happy anniversary. What's really interesting with what the congressman just said and then what you're saying is that, okay, so we're talking to strategists. We're talking to Terrence Woodbury. He's doing the polling. He's saying, hey, you need to talk and segment out black folks. That's great, but what are you going to talk about? We have hit the 200-day mark of the Trump administration. Trump told us last year through Project 2025 what he was going to do in the first hour, first 24 hours, the first 50 days, the first 100 days, the first 200 days, and now they're telling us what they're doing in the next 200 days. So why haven't we heard from the opposition party, allegedly, they're supposed to be the opposition party, why haven't we heard, hey, give us the House back and we'll tell you what we're going to do to stop what's happening in this current administration? And by the way, give us some of the governorships that are up next year, and we'll tell you what we'll do state by state. Like, I am seeing today that California, Oregon, and Washington State is saying they're going to fight back against RFK Jr. and actually have a pact to make sure that there's actually vaccines in America, because, by the way, they're safe. And by the way, black folks, a lot of black people actually invented some of these vaccines that we're using today that's saving millions of lives. So my point is, what is the affirmative message that we're going to hear from the opposition party? Why aren't they outlining it now? Give us a reason to vote. And then give us a reason to vote for you. And so you could say, oh, we need to segment people out and talk to them, but talk to them about what? Start that messaging today. I'm not just talking about surface level messaging of Trump is bad, but give me policy.
The thing is this, right? Republicans did that. Like, Democrats are playing catch up, but this is exactly what Republicans did going back to 2015, 2016. I was sitting down with vendors like L2, Cambridge Analytica, that were going out and buying every data point possible on Americans and taking those data points and literally formulating thousands, not tens, not hundreds, literally thousands of variations of different ads to say, okay, look, we know these 20 people on this block and this precinct care about this little minute issue. And we're going to make sure every time they open up Facebook, they see an ad with this candidate and that issue.
The Trump PAC in January, February, and March were running ads on black radio stations in Michigan, Ohio, Georgia, that included transgender messaging.
Yes.
And I remember sending a text message to the deputy campaign manager for the Harris campaign, who's black. And they literally said, oh, we've looked at it, and then even later, we don't believe this is going to move the needle. And I said, y'all are idiots. So what happened was they were testing the messaging on black radio in the first quarter, And that's why those commercials, and that's why Charlemagne and DJ Envy, that was included in the commercial. And then when the election was over, the Trump folks said that was their second most effective commercial. And if you watch any college or NFL game,
you saw that kind of commercial.
Dude, I was in Ohio, Wisconsin, Georgia, was one more battleground state, and North Carolina. I saw that ad a minimum of 6 times during halftime. Halftime, they understood. All they had to do was move anywhere from 1.5 to 3.7%.
But Roland, that's the thing, right? Elections, people think that elections are big swaths, right?
No.
When talk about voter suppression, they think, oh my gosh, like everybody's vote being suppressed. No, elections are a game of margins. It's, hey, I know this is my win number, this is what I need to win, this is what that margin needs to be, and how do we get there? And that's what Republicans do it very well. They figure out that margin and figure out who to peel off, whether it's black men this cycle, whether it's white women that cycle, whether it's the young white man the next cycle, and figure out that margin. And that's what Democrats have to, if Democrats want to be competitive going forward, you got to figure out where you could peel votes off on the margin and then build on those margins and cater and give those people whatever the hell they want.
But what it was, Michael, go ahead.
So no problem. And when my father was chair of the party, that's how Clinton won. The strategy was, first, are you going to bring, he said to the governor, are you going to bring a gun to a gunfight? Not a knife like Dukakis did. And are you going to try to figure out those margins that you were talking about? So when my father was chair, he was the first, Ron Lester, who we all know, had always been a subcontractor.
Hold on, first off, everybody's like, Ron Brown was your father.
Yes.
Ron Lester was Democratic pollster.
Correct, thank you. Ron Lester had always been a
Everybody gonna like, Ron Lester had a son named Michael? Go ahead.
But he did do my polling when I ran for office.
All right.
But he had some choice things to say to me too. But he made sure that Ron was a general contractor, not a sub.
There you go.
So that way, that gave Ron the ability to start passing out to smaller pollsters that could grow and become. And that data was so important on where black folks were relative to Governor Clinton and against, and most Mount Rushmores of Republicans, Ronald Reagan is on their mountaintop. George Bush was that vice president. He should have won that election. But because of the strategy.
If Perot hadn't been in it? Because
I don't know. I mean,
seem to forget the bill. Did not win.
He did peel off, no question.
No Perot, probably Bush gets a second term.
Possibly. But he was in the race. So
I'm just saying in terms of success.
Bushes should have gotten him out of the race. No, correct.
But
this wreck is going the way it's going.
But the thing here, Reese, again, that I'm gonna go back to what the Trump folks did. By running that stuff in January, February, and March, they weren't waiting till September. They were seeding. They were seeding. They were watching the data and see what the impact was. And it was kind of like, oh, peel. And then when I look at what Jen O'Malley Dillon, and I'm going to keep calling her name, and Stephanie Cutter, and David Plouffe, and Quentin, and all of them. Oh, let's just dump millions into concerts, as opposed to just drilling hard, going in and buying up everything on black radio, everything on black digital, everything on black television. But no, it was kind of like, but the assumption, they're gonna come out. And I keep saying, I kept telling everybody, by the third year of Obama, no black national candidate can run the Obama playbook ever again. It won't work. You have got to run differently to turn out black people, because the person who was 10 years old when Obama got elected is now 27. It ain't the same person.
I'm not even gonna get into the black part of all that. I will say that I was on Chicago Public Talk Radio in 2023, and I went to Twitter right after, and I said, "Woo, child, we got work to do," because all I heard from the callers, black callers, was trans and immigration shit. So this had been a cumulative act, and that's one thing that Republicans understand that Democrats don't. Republicans know how to make a thing a thing. It doesn't start out at day one as being the thing. It starts as day one as being like, I don't know nobody cares. But by the first year, the second year, the couple of months, everybody's talking about DI ain't shit, CRT. Then we're explaining, well, CRT is at the college level. by then it's a non-starter. So the Republicans know how to build, how to stick with something and make it the thing that everybody is talking about. Democrats, like you pointed out, we don't think it's moving the needle. So they let shit fester, or they have things that they should be hammering, but they don't because, this focus group didn't say they cared. This focus group didn't blame Trump for COVID. Well, fuck, that's the biggest fuck up that we've seen in recent decades was COVID. And now we have RFK Jr., who is saying that you can't get the COVID vaccine, who's undoing vaccine access across the board, even though this was Donald Trump's achievement. And so Democrats always want to just think that they're gonna have that silver bullet, and they just refuse to invest in making something the thing that people in this country care about. The only person I can say, and I hate to give him any credit, is Bernie Sanders. He drove home this Medicare for all shit, even though he Columbused it from John Conyers. I like to remind people that because they call black people neoliberal
You said
shields.
Columbused it from?
From John Conyers, Representative John Conyers. All his progressive shit came from black progressives. But he's built it home. And during the Biden-Harris administration, it was the progressives who was driving home. Today will be a good day to cancel student debt. And then when the Supreme Court said, no, thanks, bitch, they dropped it. And so...
As opposed to continue to make it a thing.
Look, if Republicans get in, your student debt is coming back with the vengeance. And so Democrats need to learn how to stick with something. They need to learn how to make a thing, but that takes investment. That takes more than a talker's call. That takes more than a couple people on TikTok. No shade. Yeah, it does.
Dude, been telling them for months.
You got two elections in 60 days, one in Virginia and one in New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
They should be that's your battleground to test everything for next cycle. Well, I think people forget in 09 and 2010, I was 19, 20 years ago, so bear with me a little bit. But what I do remember is that what I saw every day on TV were Republicans running around talking about death panels, take away your health care. Now, all this shit was bullshit and lies, but it was enough festering for 2 whole years that by the time November 2010 rolled around, people were voting on, okay, grandma maybe have to face the death panel. That, her Medicare was not going to be paid for. And then this black guy in a tan suit's going to take away health care from all of us in general.
I want
Randy, real quick.
Republicans play off of emotions, and that's the part. And we want to have
deeper than
logical
that.
conversations. Like they will find a place that people are fearful and just run with that. They make a thing exactly like you said. Whereas Democrats, we will sit there and say, well, let us explain what CRT is. No, they're wrong. Let us explain what DEI is. No, you have to deal with people's emotions and challenge. And Republicans do a brilliant job of that, of scaring people.
Real quick, go.
It's a dark intel perspective. Like what you want to do is you want to understand pressure points. Like when you think about our enemies, when you think about Russia, when you think about China, they understand us better than we understand us. So the one thing that they're going to tug on, I'm going to go back to a Brittany Griner example, how that dovetails with foreign policy and blackness. Brittany Griner was the perfect person to put in jail because they knew they put Biden up against the wall. It's like, okay, what you gonna do with your black gay woman here? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna give up to get her out? What are you gonna sacrifice? That was a very interesting move. So my point is, because I'm about to get the finger, my point is that it's about understanding pressure points where Democrats, they don't necessarily approach messaging from that perspective. It's the always playing catch up, always explaining, but it is a different way from understanding how to trigger people's emotionality, right?
I'm gonna come back to this here. I gotta go to a break. Our next guest, we were talking again 7 years ago. We talked about Crystal Mason, and here we are 7 years later. She still is dealing with the bullshit in Tarrant County. We're gonna talk with her lawyer next. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
Take my hat off to you. I salute Roland Martin Unfiltered. You're doing a bang-up job. I wish that you would issue an IPO because I would certainly invest.
Black Star Network, what's happening? It's your man, Kim. And look, my new single, Rock With Me, is on fire. We debuted as the #1 most added and greatest gainer at R&B radio. So look, I want you to go check it out at musicbykim.com. Listen to it, download it, tell me what you think about it. Also, make sure you sign up to be a part of my community so we can stay connected. At Music by Kim on all social media platforms. Thank you for rocking with me, and keep love on the one.
'Cause I want you to rock with me. We live in a strange world till the darkness falls forever. Baby, let's be the dawn. When it feels like it's taking me over, you're making me stronger, my sweet love.
And I appreciate you, and as somebody who's done this a long time, there's not very many platforms like this one. It's what makes it special. You should be compensated for how special it is. And now you've built this with your team. I've built my firm with my team. Folks like us don't have a lot of backup, like I said before. So know that I see you and I appreciate it. And I think that we'll have much more conversations as we go forward. And we should think about teaming up and doing some black-brown stuff.
Yeah. All right, folks, welcome back. Roland Martin Unfiltered right here on the Black Star Network. 7 years ago when we launched our show, we told you about this story out of Tarrant County, Texas. Tarrant County, Texas, where Crystal Mason, a black woman, she tried to vote. Black grandmother out of Fort Worth. She was jailed for attempting to vote while on supervised release from federal prison. In March 2024, she was acquitted of the charge. However, the racist Tarrant County DA, Phil Sorrells, who should be primaried, urged the state's highest criminal court to review that decision and to convict Mason again. Her attorney, Kim Cole, joins us right now. So, Kim, glad to have you here. First of all, Kim, for the people who don't know, tell again, what year was it that Crystal tried to vote?
I'm sorry, Roland, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Barely.
All right, so guys, can y'all fix her audio, please? We want to make sure. So, Kim, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
All right, what year, what election was it where Crystal tried to vote?
2016.
2016. That's 9 years ago.
Yes.
Now, she tried, so her vote was never counted because they went after her. That violated her, because she had gone to prison on federal charges. So she had to go back to prison. How long was she have to go back for?
She had to go back she was sentenced to a year. She had to do 10 months in federal prison, and also they reinstated her supervised release.
All right, so she goes back for almost a year, reinstate supervised released. And y'all have been going back and forth, appeals court, all this sort of stuff. And these, and I'm gonna call him a absolutely white racist, they are still trying to jail her. The amount of money they have spent and wasted to put this black woman back in jail for a single vote that never even was counted, even after her parole officer testified that she was not aware that she could not vote.
Correct. To me, it's an utter waste of taxpayer dollars and a complete abuse of the system. It was clear that Crystal did not know that she could not vote. In the trial, like you said, the supervisor over the entire district stated that they never informed her that she couldn't vote. He also said that they didn't even have a process in place to inform anybody whether or not they could vote. So nobody informed her. The state's own witnesses testified that they sent her mail to her home address while she was in federal prison. So there's no way she could have gotten the the letter saying that she wasn't able to vote. So she never knew. They did not make their case in the state court. That has been our argument all along. They did not make their case in trial, yet the judge, because there wasn't a jury trial, it was a judge by a Republican, a trial by a Republican judge, and a bench trial, and he found her guilty. And we're still here, almost a decade later, awaiting a ruling.
And so you're awaiting the ruling from which court?
From the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals, which is the highest court in the criminal system in the state of Texas. They originally ruled, it's been almost 2 years ago now that they ruled, actually it has been 2 years, I believe, that they ruled that the second Court of Appeals did not properly apply the law to Crystal's case. So they sent it back to the second Court of Appeals and had them take a second look at it and remanded it back to the second Court of Appeals.
Now,
the second Court of Appeals ruled in our favor, and the state has now filed for a discretionary review, and that's where we are right now.
And let's let folks know, how long did y'all have to wait for that last decision?
18 months.
So 18 months. So, and when did the clock start this second review?
They filed in April of 2024. So we're close to 17 months at this point.
Right. And so here we are almost 10 years later, and this sister still is having this over her head because the Tarrant County DA, Phil Sorrells, he wants to put this woman in prison for voting in a vote that was actually never counted, correct?
Correct. What they want to do, Roland, is exactly what the prosecutor stated in Crystal's original trial. The prosecutor stated that they wanted to send a message to voters.
There we go. Public hanging.
That's what the Tarrant County District Attorney wants to do. He wants to send a message to voters. And obviously, we all know what that message means. It's purely voter intimidation. They have, I'm sure, as we've seen in recent news, Texas has gone through extreme measures to chill voting in Texas. And this is one of their tactics, which began almost a decade ago.
It's absolutely insane. We've had you and Ora Crystal on this show for the last 6 years, and I can't believe here we are celebrating our 7th anniversary of Roland Martin Unfiltered, and we are still talking about this case.
It's unfortunate. It's absolutely unfortunate. Roland, when we came on 7 years ago, we might have to roll the tape back. I may have specifically and definitively stated, nope, this won't fly, because it runs afoul of Texas law. However, in today's climate, given the lengths that the Texas Republicans have gone to curtail voting and to send a message, I can't say what the outcome is going to be. I honestly can't. Tarrant County, I believe it's common knowledge that Tarrant County is the largest urban district in the U.S. as far as the red district in the U.S.
Yeah, it's actually, but it's also,
it
is the last large county in Texas that's red. Harris County, that's Houston, Dallas County, Dallas, Bexar County, San Antonio, Travis County, Austin, all of those are blue counties, and this is their last stronghold, and Republicans are desperately trying to hold on to this county, and one of the reasons why this county is still red is because Black Latino voters are not voting their numbers. There you go.
Absolutely, absolutely. And they are determined, their motto is keep Tarrant County red. And that's essentially, that's what they're trying to do by any means necessary, even if it means putting an innocent woman in jail. they do not want folks that look like us to vote because their perception is that we always vote blue, which isn't exactly true, but that's the perception.
All right. Kim, we appreciate it. We hope not to see you next year on this anniversary. And if we do see you, it's for other reasons. Give Crystal our best. We appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Absolutely. Thank you, Roland, and congratulations on your show.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Greg, I want to go to you. Black folks in Tarrant County, there should be Crystal Mason's billboard everywhere.
Yes.
This is the thing, and I've hit some pastors there.
Come on.
And I said, how in the hell are y'all not making her the centerpiece of black turnout? You've got a racist MAGA sheriff in Tarrant County, a racist district attorney, an even more racist county judge who just drove through a racist gerrymandered district to take out Elisa Simmons, county commissioner, because the Republicans have a 3-2 majority. He wants a 4-1 majority, use this racist white firm paid for by county voters, and then wouldn't even let them testify before the county commissioner's court. And I've been saying that if folk in Montgomery made Rosa Parks the rallying cry, in Tarrant County, it's Crystal Mason. Right. This is 9 years this has been going on. Insane.
It is. Well, let's look at Montgomery in that context. Did we know who the enemy was in Montgomery? We absolutely did. The late Neely Fuller said, if you don't understand white supremacy, everything else you think you understand will only confuse you. If a bully keep coming and you keep giving it up, you probably deserve what happens. Not in a moral sense, but when you beat a bully's ass, you beat the shit out of them, they stop. These crackers are doing what they're doing because we haven't stopped them. Yep. You say it all the time, Roland. We vote our numbers, it's over. In Tarrant County, absolutely. You say, since you don't want Crystal Mason to vote, you Klansmen, we're gonna break your political back. And all the people come say, well, we're all just trying to build a better society. No, you go sit your ass down. We're not Democrats, we're not Republicans. You always say, we're for black people. And this is to all the people out there call us shills for the Democrats. You Negroes need to go to hell because you are scared of your master. You worship other white masters, perhaps Karl Marx or, Antonio Gramsci, whoever you worship. But what you don't understand is that old school black people understood the thing. In Montgomery, you the enemy, Mr. Mayor, you the enemy, Bull Connor, you the enemy, and we're gonna organize. Right. What we won't do today is call a thing a thing. The Democratic Party are racists. They are racists. And they are willing to sacrifice us. We need to use the Democratic Party the same way we used to use the Republicans or any other body. It's a delivery system. So in Texas, finally, let me ask you this, and this goes to everybody. These crackers are gerrymandering, counting on us not voting. Yep. If we vote our numbers, do those seats flip?
Yes.
But guess what? You can't gerrymander the DA race because it's countywide.
Right.
And guess what? In
Come on, talk to
2026,
it.
that race is up. I just pulled the numbers for 2022. In 2022, the last time that race was up, only 47% of those who were registered to vote showed up to vote. That specific race with Phil Soros, he got about 310,000 votes. The black woman who ran against him got about 272,000 votes. That's the difference of 38,000 votes. You're trying to tell me we can't find 38,000 black votes in Tarrant County?
Right. But what's the message, though? Well, I mean, in other words, what's the message that would do that? Like you said, Republicans are vibes. Reese, you said it. What's our vibe? We scared to call a thing a thing. You're racist. Our vibe is break your fucking back.
The state house just ran your legislators to the state of Texas to take away your right to vote.
Come on.
This racist DA is stopping you from being able to vote. So that is the message. If we're going to call it out, we have to call it out.
And again, Mustafa, I'm using Montgomery for a reason. And I hate when black people bring up Montgomery to talk about the boycott. But you can't talk about the boycott if you don't deal with the women's political organization that actually was planning the boycott. That was Joanne Robinson and those women. So when they got sick and tired, what people don't understand, she sent a letter to the bus company the day after the Brown versus Board of Education decision saying, desegregate. This had been going on for a year. She was one of the people who was denied seating up front. And when that day happened, when the phone call came in, she grabbed 2 Alabama State students, went to the basement of the president's office, mimeographed those copies, called 9 sisters and said, we're dropping them off, dropped the pamphlets off. That pamphlet was disseminated to 50,000 black people. And the only reason the white people found out, because a black housekeeper got it and gave it to her white master. And Joanne said they were initially pissed. She said, but what happened was all the press was there at the church that night, and they actually spread the message a lot faster. But that thing was done covertly. Nobody white in Montgomery had any idea. And then she said, because she worked at Alabama State and there were other professors, they did not want folks to lose their jobs. So they sacrificially stepped back and said to the preachers, y'all take it from here. But it doesn't happen unless those black women were already organized and had a plan of action. That's what has to happen in Tarrant County. We keep saying, we went to Kansas City, the Urban League, and they were like, people would turn to vote. I'm like, you hope they turn out to vote.
Right.
No, you got to go knock on the doors and already know who's going to come out to vote.
That's right.
And not you hope they turn out.
That's right.
In Montgomery, they understood, when folks said loose lips sink ships. So they understood that they had to keep things tight. They had to have the strategic plan. They had to make sure that people were not only motivated, but they also had to understand what does the goal look like, as we move down the road. Y'all were talking about, so what is the talking point around what's going on to Sister Mason? It is about illegal lynching. Yeah. It is about illegal lynching that continues to happen not only to her, but continues to happen throughout the black community all across this country.
That's right.
Folks get that, right? Because they understand how lynching has impacted our communities, and they also understand how the legal system has played a role in that.
Yes.
And they also should have the understanding of how your vote can actually change that. So our dear sister talked about the DA, right?
Yeah.
Most folks don't understand how their vote plays into having the DA in there. So we have to make sure that we're utilizing language that our people can actually resonate with, that actually moves through our DNA because of everything that we've been through.
There it is.
Decade upon decade. So that's the way that I operate. I make sure that I'm creating the imagery and the words that are necessary for folks that I'm working with to really get what's going on.
So Crystal, I'm sorry, so Reese, if you say free Crystal Mason, you free Crystal Mason if you defeat his ass.
That's true, but I think we need to confront the fact that in our community, as opposed to in Montgomery, there are a lot of people who feel very comfortable with black women being punished. And Republicans understand that when you put a black woman out front, oh well, look at what LaMonica McIver, she is still facing federal charges, trumped up charges for some bullshit, and we barely hear about it. We've talked about it on this show, of course, and in other black media spaces, but is there an uproar? They tried to censure her this week.
Why isn't there uproar?
Because black women are unprotected in this country, including in
I
our
don't,
But wait, hold on. Let me give a couple more
absolutely
examples. Let me give a couple more examples. This administration has shown time and time again, when they attack black women, there's very little response. 300,000 black women have lost their jobs. And there's a shoulder shrug to that. Adriana Smith was kept on life support. She was an incubator for a baby for months. And she was taken off life support, and there was very little fanfare about it. And so the problem with, I wish in the depths of my soul that we can make a black woman the poster board and say an injustice against the black woman is an injustice against our entire community. But we are seeing each day the way that this administration is proving that to not to be the case. And we're seeing with Crystal Mason's case, as abhorrent as this has been and as much coverage as this has gotten on your show, it has not moved the needle.
And I'm going to go back to Stokely Carmichael. Kwame Ture.
He's a man.
No.
I just want to expose the absurdity of this lens.
For me, the issue is not. For me, the issue is not because it's a black woman, black man.
I'm telling you,
no. Here's what I think was
disinformation. The issue. You talk about that all the time.
But here's the fundamental issue. This is just very clear the fundamental issue. Carmichael said, "You can't show me an African American who has made a difference for our people who did it as an individual." They did it through an organization. Right. The problem in Tarrant County, and the problem, and I go back to when I say we get a whole generation of people, those baby boomers, who were the glue in our community. What has happened is we've had folks who believe that, well, if I individually tweet, individually post, or do my thing, it's a difference. No, the only way this thing happens in Tarrant County, the only way you can activate the black belt in North Carolina, that's East North Carolina, the only way you can activate black rural Georgia is there has to be an infrastructure, an organization through which people can work through. So when they say, hey, okay, I'm down with this, Reese, where do I sign up? Who do I call?
Let me tell you what I was.
And if that doesn't happen, if I, this is the problem, I can't.
Yeah.
I literally right now cannot tell the audience, call this person over this group to do that. And when you start looking at cities around the country, that is what has happened. We have leaned for years on our legacy civil rights groups.
Yep.
That ain't it. So if that ain't it, all right, then what's the entity or series of entities, which is why I have consistently challenged the D9 and the Prince Hall Masons and the Eastern Star and the Links and all these groups. We have black infrastructure, but our black infrastructure is used for personal gain, inward gain, and not external black gain. That's our greatest problem.
Yeah, we need
yeah, you gotta have structure. Real quick, because I do a flight to catch to Atlanta. Let me just real quick.
I gotta talk about
I'm gonna let you do it. Just hold on. So let me shout out the Noble Women's Conference, the Noble Women's Annual Legislative Conference. I am moderating the panel 9:30 tomorrow. I'm gonna be there. The flight's at 10:10. I'm gonna be there. So go.
Okay, real quick.
And don't get the finger. Go.
Anyway, so real quick, to your point, I'm a strategist and I'm always advocating what's the strategy. It can't be inward. It can't be personal, right? Rosa Parks is a great example. The Plessy v. Ferguson is a great example. These were strategic cases, right? Rosa Parks was not just this tired old black woman on the bus. No, she was chosen, right? And she had the entire infrastructure of the NAACP supporting her in that effort. Plessy was a strategic moment in history where they knew what the outcome was going to be and they were prepared for that moment. The strategic piece is missing in the messaging, in the execution. And I just want to say, the way in which the Republicans understand how to pull on those pressure points, we don't understand MAGA the way Republicans understand other groups in this country and culture.
Hello, Eugene. Randy, go.
And we need to stop being so satisfied when we get a little piece of something. What you're saying about our social groups is absolutely right. And I believe that it became individualistic and we feel like, oh, we've made it because I'm in this group and I'm in that group. And we don't have to serve, the groups don't have to serve a greater purpose. We're so worried about the debutante ball and the boule.
Or whether we're going to lose our 501c3 status.
Absolutely. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying those things aren't valuable, all right? But we have the power. I was just saying there's a group 17,000 members strong or something. What are we doing? So, I don't want to just see a letter that we're writing that we're disappointed in what happened, but what are we doing? If we have this power, we owe it to our people. And to think that we have overcome is crazy. So we need to pay attention and realize we haven't overcome and there's work to be done.
Before I go to Eugene, I'm going to say this right now, and this is the challenge. The person who is fighting the hardest in Tarrant County is County Commissioner Lisa Simmons.
Yes.
And I'm going to say this right now. I do not understand why in the hell every single one of you members of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated is not going hard for your soror.
You're right.
You do not have to take a vote. You do not even have to discuss it in your organization. Every AKA in Tarrant County can join together and rise up and say, we are going to stand with our sister. Y'all ain't even got to wear pink and green. You don't even have to wear, no. Because see, here's the problem. Our D9 organizations are so scared that we tell folk, don't wear your colors, don't wear your letters, because we might get sued. So the point I'm making is, If there is an organization in Tarrant County that could serve as the central mobilizing vehicle, it's the AKs in Tarrant County, because it is your Soror who they racially gerrymandered out of a position. Oh, hold up. And by the way, for all you AKs in Tarrant County who like, why he calling us out? It was your AKA, Joanne Robinson, who was the one who came up with this in Montgomery. So that's in your DNA. So we talking about who should be there. That's the perfect vehicle to drive this thing home. And it don't matter if Crystal not in a sorority, because when you stand up for Crystal Mason, you standing up for black girls, black women, black men as well. So I'm just simply saying, if we want to know where you can go, it can start with the AKs in Tarrant County, and then the AKs in Tarrant County can call on the Deltas in Tarrant County, and the Zetas in Tarrant County, and the Sigma Gamma Rhos in Tarrant County, and then the black fraternities in Tarrant County. And now all of a sudden, you're going to have thousands of black people mobilized and organized to drive this campaign home. And let's see what y'all gonna do. Eugene, Rebecca, go.
So real quick, I actually agree. Probably you don't even need to make Crystal Mason the face of this. But what you should do is go down to the courthouse, find the last 10, 15,000 cases that his office prosecuted. This data's out there. Use the data the same way Republicans use it. Those people target every last one of their family members above 18.
Oh, you got that. In the jail, dozens of people have died in that jail because of this sheriff. I mean,
but Roland, the thing is this, right? You got 10,000 folks. If you're targeting 5 or 6 per, your margin's right there.
I got it. Go.
But even worse, there's a lot of black men who have been killed in Tarrant County by law enforcement, and there hasn't been charges brought. So there's a ton of things. But what I would say is, I talk to people on the ground in Tarrant County. I talk to them all. What are y'all going to do to get this? What are y'all going to do to get this district attorney out of office and to find someone who's actually going to be responsive to the community? And the response that I got back from these people was, oh, well, we're waiting for the Democratic Party.
Wow.
No.
And so this is my point of that. In strategy and strategic planning, you have the strategy, you have goals, and you have tactics. The Democratic Party can be a tactic, but it should never be the strategy.
And that's why I keep saying this is not a party thing. This is a black thing. And I need black people. Don't depend on a party, which is why I keep telling people, give your money to Black Voters Matter, give it to Until Freedom, give it to black organizations who are on the ground, who you know are going to spend it with our people, because that's how you actually change this thing. That's how you can actually shift this. And I'm telling you, if what we're laying out, Tarrant County can be taken.
Yes.
It's there for the taking. The problem is, it has not been organized and has not been mobilized. And if you then take Tarrant County in November and you target next year, then you can take those congressional seats. And guess what? There are Republicans all across Texas who right now are afraid because they've gone so far with these racially gerrymandered maps. They like, wait a minute, there's a lot of black people who have now been shifted into Republican districts, and literally there are 10 Republicans who are like, we could get taken out because of what we just did, but they will never be taken out if we stay at home. Folks, it's our 7th anniversary here on Roland Martin Unfiltered, 4th anniversary of Black Star Network. We want to appreciate everybody who supported us. Normally we have a big party. We got alcohol, food, and everything, but I got a plane to catch. So I got to get to Atlanta. So that's why we cut it short. But hey, we did. Don't be over there like, I know you want some alcohol. It's something in the cabinet. I know you want to drink.
Bro, I sure is hungry. I ain't even eating today.
I know y'all wanted some chicken wings and crab cakes.
That's what I really wanted. That's what I wanted.
Y'all,
I didn't have lunch.
All of y'all,
I didn't have dinner.
Guess what? I can give y'all Lynette's phone number, and all of y'all can get some catered at the crib.
I did
hit Lynette. You damn, we got cupcakes, and you ain't paid for them. So anyway, I hit Lynette. Lynette brought my favorite chocolate cupcakes, red velvet cupcakes. I appreciate that. Let me thank everybody, of course, who's been on our panel. Let me thank everybody here as well. Thank our staff as well. I'm trying to thank. I'm trying to thank. Girl,
take your bow. Take your bow.
Mackenzie, sit your ass down. She just got here. Sit down. She's so brand new. So I'm trying to think. I think so the longest serving people here and it's shocking they still here. Henry and Anthony, I don't know where they at. Let's see, Stephen, of course, on audio. So those are 3 longest serving people. I appreciate that. I'm trying to see who the hell else is in there.
Carol.
We got Carol over there.
Carol.
Carol, how you let Lisa come?
Carol.
Carol, how you let Lisa come?
Carol.
Carol, how you let Lisa come work at Lisa? But come on to the black side, Lisa. You got way more freedom over here. Come on. Yeah, you can be free over here, Lisa. So again, let me thank the whole staff. Y'all, we had some amazing interns. Folks, we've already started our capital campaign to raise $1 million by December. I'm not going to name the person, but I sent a text message to a whole bunch of people today asking them to post our graphic, to post, hey, support the show. And one of the folks who I sent it to literally said, I'm going to give the show $100,000.
Wow.
I was totally blown away. So our target goal, pull the graphic up. The goal is to raise $1 million by December. Now our goal, y'all, is $900,000 by December.
Right.
And we can do this. And I keep telling y'all, listen, we ain't got millionaires and billionaires cutting us checks. We got one now. But ad agencies are screwing with black people. Anti-DEI, I'm telling y'all, black newspapers are getting crushed nationally because of these anti-DEI efforts. Every black nonprofit in America is being impacted by anti-DEI. I need y'all to understand, if there is a moment where black people have to use our coins, and then we love talking about HBCUs and how we love them, a lot of those HBCUs started because free people of Africa descent put them coins together, pennies and nickels to create those schools. We funded black organizations. We funded black banks. Understand, a hallmark, a central point of building community, you have to have communication mediums. Because this is mass media. It's more than 3,000 people who are watching right now. But I keep telling y'all, March 4th, we had 250,000 watching. So where are the other 247,000? See, we got to also get out of the habit of turning on MSNBC. MSNBC has more black viewers than anybody else. But y'all ain't seeing a lot of black people on MSNBC. You ain't seen black content. You ain't seen black experts. I guarantee you ain't no black foreign policy person you seeing on MSNBC on a regular basis. I guarantee you there's no black studies person you're seeing at an HBCU on a regular basis.
That's true.
Y'all saw what I did there. There's no black environmental expert, no black economist. I can go on and on and on. So supporting this show and network is critically important. I already told y'all, we're going to be launching a new daily show. I've already offered the sister a job who's going to be doing that daily show. We're working on launching a black business show, a black health show, because we have to build out the network and all the offerings. And let me see if I can pull it up. Well, our Roku's not working. So what I was going to debut today, but we have to make some changes over. So if you go to blackstarnetwork.com, the app comes up right now. Well, in 4 days, that's going to change because we are turning the blackstarnetwork.com into a black news portal. So you will see opinion pieces. We're using AI to take the content and the interviews on this show, turn them into written stories. And then we're also looking at hiring at least 1 or 2 writers to also drive content on the website. And so I told y'all we were going next level. So one of the reasons we're talking about raising this $1 million is to fund those things. A black company out of Los Angeles called Quantity that's rebuilding out our black news portal. And again, we were going to launch it today, but we have to make a switch over from the app. So hopefully that'll be done in 4 days. You'll see what that looks like. But if you look at right now in black-owned media, you do not have a black news portal where you ain't seeing aggregated content. I'm not rewriting white media stories. We ain't doing that. We're going to be having our own stories and covering the things because, again, we have to expand this because I can't do all the interviews and all of the reporting. It has to be broad and has to be bigger. And so media is important. We are not here as black people if we did not have black newspapers and black magazines and black radio. We're now living in a digital world. And unfortunately, too many of our black-owned media companies are not meeting the moment. You have black women-targeted outlets that are not writing about the attacks on black women on a daily basis. You have black business outlets ain't writing about the attacks on black business on a daily basis. And we can go on and on and on. And so we're not going to play this game of sports and entertainment. If y'all want that, go somewhere else. If y'all want to see who's getting married, who's getting divorced, who's pregnant, who's not pregnant, who left a man, who left a woman, don't come here because I don't give a shit. You can go somewhere else. I'm not talking about it. I don't care. There's a lot of celebrities I know. Hey, happy birthday. Guess what? I'll send them a text. We ain't doing that on the show because we've got to have a focus where it's just news and information, where it's the beginning, the middle, and the end. And so that's what the goal here. So when I ask y'all to support, I'm not playing. The first check that we got was from a 92-year-old black woman. And I actually put her on the show. And she said she watched my TV One show. She said her daughter followed me on Facebook because she played golf. And that sister said, she told me about what you were launching, and she said, your voice matters, and she sent a $500 check. That's actually how the Bring the Funk fan club got started.
Wow.
And since we launched, more than 40,000 people have made donations to this show, ranging from $1 all the way up to $30,000. And now the largest now is $100,000. But understand, everybody can't give $100,000 or 50 or 30 or 25, 10, 5. Everybody can't even give $50. But trust me, when the sister, the seasoned saint who stopped me at the Atlanta airport and gave me $1, her dollar is just as important as the 100,000. Because you know what? If you get 10,000 people giving $1, there's still $10,000. And so that's where we have to be. And I'm telling y'all right now, this anti-DEI stuff, this anti-black stuff, that's locked in place for the next 3.5 years. We need to understand that, okay? It ain't going away if Democrats win the House next year. And so we have got to have communication mediums that are fortified, that are unbought, unbossed, and that they do not control. And I told y'all, the only person above me on our flow chart is God. I don't report to anybody else. I don't ask anybody else, can I? I don't ask anybody else for permission. And guess what? Ida B. Wells Barnett was that way. So was Robert Abbott. So was Frederick Douglass. So was John Sinstack. So was John H. Johnson and Earl Graves and the brothers who own Essence. The only way we can truly have free black-owned media, what I mean by free of constraints, is if we fund it. And that's what has to happen. And so if you want to support our work, again, our goal is to raise $1 million, now $900,000 between now and December 31st. You can contribute via Stripe with Cash App. You see the QR code right here. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Checks and money orders, make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037 7-0196. Of course, download the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. Those of you watching on YouTube, hit the damn like button. I see all y'all commenting, but y'all, I see more than 3,000 people watching. I don't see 3,000 likes. What's up with that? Makes no sense to me, all right? Don't forget, get our Black Star Network gear. I think we have this Black Owned Media Matters shirt on there. If not, trust me, it's going to be on there tomorrow. And so go to shopblackstarnetwork.com to get our gear there. Support the Black-owned products that are on there as well. We have Black-owned products on shopblackstarnetwork.com. You can buy direct, support those Black-owned businesses. Go there as well. And, of course, we support the Black social media app Fanbase. Download the app. They've now reached 13 million of their 17 million goals Series A fundraise. There's 4 million left. I don't want us just using social media. I want us being investors in social media so we also can build black wealth because that's how so many white folks have done that as well. We should be doing that, so get Fanbase as well. Again, let me thank everybody here. Let me thank all of our commentators on our panels every single day that have made this show possible for the last 7 years. Thank our staff, and more importantly, let me thank every single one of you because y'all watching, y'all commenting, y'all posting, y'all sharing our content is how we went from 157,000 YouTube subscribers to now 1.85 million, and how we've been able to build and grow this to hit a high of some 30 million views a month. And last point, YouTube's top 100 black podcasts, they've not had that for like 3 months. It's only 2 weeks we were not in the top 100. They reached the highest we reached was number 40. And we're the only black news outlet that is on YouTube's top 100. Everybody else is sports and entertainment. And that shows you the power of black eyeballs and black voices. Folks, I'll see you tomorrow from Atlanta. Thanks for joining us in our celebration, 7th anniversary, 4th anniversary. I'll see you tomorrow. Holla! And get some cupcakes. Bye.